Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Janisha, and you are here tuning in with Savvy Maven. If you've been riding with me, thank you so much for being here. I'm glad to have you here in this space. Welcome to the family. And if you're new here, I'm so glad that you decided to show up today. You're going to love it here. You're really going to love it here. So go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you'll know whenever I upload a new episode. I drop one new episode every Tuesday, and it's always real in this space, okay? Always real, always rooted, and we're always growing in this space, okay? Life is a journey. We're ready to grow together. So let's get into it. So if you found that this video is helpful for you, please go ahead and hit that share button so that you can bless somebody else as we lean into today's episode. Okay, y'all. So this is episode 4. I cannot believe this is episode 4, y'all. A whole month of me showing up consistently. Let me get that right. A whole month of me showing up consistently, y'all. It takes a lot of work, even just to do one video a week, because you have those days where it's like, listen, I'm trying to plan this out. I'm trying to figure out how this is going to work. But sometimes I just don't feel like giving what it needs to be given. And I just show like, I don't know. It's like I got to show up anyway. Sorry, y'all, something on my face. Anyway, so I made the decision though, when I committed to my YouTube channel, just to keep showing up. And I am so proud of myself for that. So I'll give myself a round of applause. Okay. So with today's episode, what has been put heavy on my heart is talking about something that we all can likely resonate with, and that is putting behind us something that we've buried or thought that we have buried, and the parts of us that we really thought weren't good enough, that we weren't ready for, and how those things really, really never left us. Okay. And I'll just start by sharing just some examples that have shown up for me. And it's when I was in this phase where I used to think I couldn't. And I call it a phase because I'm evolved and I have overcome so much in a great amount of time. And so I used to think that I couldn't speak in public for real. Like, I remember going to college, my freshman year of college, and I scored really low in that class. I got a C in that class, barely got a C. For one, between college college was intimidating, all the things. But in this particular public speaking class, I felt like I had something to say, but I didn't have anything to say because I was ultimately terrified. Terrified of being judged, terrified of sounding silly, terrified of what people would think about me and how I came across, how I sounded. Was it, like everybody else that spoke before me? Was I better than the person that spoke before me? I got to pass this class. So like, let me show up in a way that's actually going to help me pass. And so I put all of this in my mind and dumped my mind so full of noise that I muffled the opportunity for me to truly shut up. Show up. That's what I meant. Truly show up. And so when I was watching other people look so confident in this space, it just made me feel like I wasn't enough. Okay. And so what is interesting, and so I'll say college was some years ago. My first year of college was in 2006. So yeah. Anyway, that seems like so long ago. It really was though. But anyway, so what is interesting is that even before college, before I had to take the required, course for college, I was already planting seeds. Okay. And so I was active as a child in sports. I was active in musicals. I sang in the church choir. I participated in talent shows in my high school. And so I remember what it felt like in those moments, like just to really be free and innocent. I had a joy about me. There was this flow that came. And And those spaces, that environment allowed me to truly show up without adding a whole lot of pressure to myself. And so there was to no judgment, because nobody was worried about what level you was on. Nobody was worried about who's better than the next. We just showed up and we had fun. And we took that energy of what could be perceived as showing out or whatever as somebody like inspiring you to go to the next, like to really show up and show out and just have fun with it. And, so those environments, I don't know what is on my lipstick. This is crazy. I'm sorry, y'all. Those environments really allowed me to show up as my full self, in particular the church example. So, growing up doing the church plays, grandmama had me in the church plays, gotta do those. And even singing in the choirs, there was just an environment. I don't know if it was just the presence of God or it was just the comfortability that I had because I spent so much time in the church, that's just where I showed up, and I didn't really overthink it. I didn't really do a whole lot of extra preparation to really show up in that space. But now that I'm older and I've lived life a little bit, I can see that those moments where I felt like um, things that I felt at moments of my life were actually preparation for how God is using me right now. And so that was really cultivating over the years. And so this courage that I have now did not come easy. I can say that God has been truly he's been cultivating over the years what it looks like for me to show up. And so I will say that, like any job that I've had, there's always been a public speaking requirement of some sort, whether I had to present something to leadership, I had to present something to the public, I had to build a training, I had to do all these things. I found that naturally that was something that it was just innate in me. And teaching is a gift. It's one of my spiritual gifts. And so I knew that that was there. It was more so those moments where I was like, okay, I got to put on for me or show up for me is when it was like, know about that. But when somebody else was like, okay, we got to do this for this assignment. Okay, I'm gonna have to suck it up and get it done. But me even starting this channel was a challenge because I used to like have this fear and all these excuses of not really wanting to show up. And so a little bit deeper with that too, I want to share. We just talking today, y'all. I want to share too that I began to bury my voice prior to jumping onto YouTube, not in the literal sense. Okay. So emotionally and spiritually, I began to bury my voice. And so I have been working on this particular idea for, about 4 years now, and working on it. In essence, just it's been in my mind, but I ain't been doing it to activate it. Like I go and I think of the name of my channel or think of the name of my business, which I can't wait to share with y'all what's coming with Savvy Maiden. Y'all ain't gonna be ready. Oh, it's gonna be so dope. Okay. But I used to, do all of that, do all of this planning. I would plan my little heart out until it became a point in time where it's like God was speaking to me, Nisha, what are you going to do with the things that I've already given you? You want all this fresh oil, sis, but you haven't even filled up the wineskin that I've already given you. Like, do something with that. And I keep reminding you of these things. And so you're going to have to make an ultimate decision to do something with it. And so before I launched this channel, I realized that I was burying my voice, and it was coming from a lot of things that happened in my past that were still haunting me. And it was like the enemy in my flesh just kept reminding me of those moments and it didn't feel good. And so I had to get out of that because it was a whole bunch of trickery is what it was. And so when I say that I was burying my voice and not doing so in a literal sense, this was more of how I grew up. So I grew up old school, and my grandmother raised me, and I was always taught to stay in a child's place. So my grandmother raised me, my mother worked, and she also influenced me with that same mentality. And then my daddy is from the South. So that was a whole nother level of like, be quiet, don't say nothing. That mean like, don't ask no question to your parents. Don't question the elderly. Don't ask nothing. Don't ask too many questions, okay? Because now you're trying to challenge that person. And all that came from them in a place of love and protection and just tradition and how they grew up. It also shifted my curiosity and exploration. So I didn't feel safe to be bold in a lot of respects when it came to growing up in development and womanhood and relationships and all the things. So I just stopped asking. And I stopped wondering, and that started to bleed over into the relationships that did get into, and then ultimately turned into um, when I did choose to show up in a way, it turned up into that person manipulating me, or just taking advantage of me in a certain way. And so I just had buried my voice, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna figure this out on my own. Which grandma always say, you learn to do by doing. And so this is ultimately one of the areas of my life where I really had to learn. And there are some things I wished I didn't have to experience, but I did. So let me be clear though on that. I'm sharing this because this is a transparent space. This is what my channel is designed to be. And I want to be able to bless somebody. So I'm not saying any of this about my upbringing or whatnot to bash anybody or talk about anybody. It was not a bad one. But I will say that my childhood was truly shaped by survival, tradition, and them trying to figure it out too. Okay. So for a kid like me, I was a very good kid. I didn't want to get in trouble, feared to switch. Like I was like, I am not going to get in trouble because I am not trying to get that when I get home. So um I was observant. I'm still very observant. I'm a people watcher. I like to watch and study. I'm a researcher. I was very inquisitive. I always wanted to know why and how because I wanted to have that level of understanding. And I think that planted seeds as to me overthinking in some regard. There are some decisions that need to be made that don't require all this thinking, sis, and just make the decision. And so um, I think too, and I don't know if I'll do another video on this or just speak to this now, but just to say that as I think about the word or the term overthinking, that means like overanalyzing or overprocessing something more than what it needs to be. And for me, that has a lot to do with the curiosity and the questions that I wish I would have asked and got answered to help, remove that layer of my character. But I will say that God has delivered me from that, and I am here today. A redeemed, recovered, reborn again woman who is not stuck in that overthinking cycle. And so I just felt that I needed a different type of guidance. And then I didn't really know what that was and how to put that into context. So even those moments when I was silent, that was also shaping me. The lessons I had to learn the hard way, my God, so many lessons. They shaped me. And so what God has showed me and what I want to share with you on today is that your voice matters. My voice matters. And what's even deeper than that is that he showed me really why it matters, and getting into his word. Because growing up again in the church, you told to read your Bible. It's like, okay, well, how do I really do that for real? Well, I didn't really realize how many different versions of the Bible there were that could actually speak to me and be interpreted in a way so I can get into the Bible and digest it. Because everything in King James, it was not going to work for me because I could read it, but I didn't really absorb it and put it into practice because I'm like, what is this? But at my big age, being able to have bought me a new Bible, getting into his word really helped me to recognize the difference between um, the version of me that was shaped by fear and the version of me that he actually created. Okay. And so being able to get to really know his voice helped me to gain permission to just be different. Okay. And be cool with being different, to be bold, to show up authentically, no matter what, all the imperfections, all the things. There will not be any edits on this video. Okay. Just to show up. Okay. Um, Unpolished, imperfect, but yet still perfect in his image. And so I also heard from God that this is exactly who he has called me to be. not just for me, but because somebody else's breakthrough is connected to my obedience. And I don't want to delay their obedience any further by not using my voice. Okay. And so, you know what else? Like, oh, God is so good. He also put this on my heart too, that when you bury something, it doesn't disappear. So when you plant a seed, it doesn't just disappear beneath the soil. It goes into the soil. And into that soil, there's a transformation that happens. It starts to change. Um, the environment is dark. In some regards, is damp. It's full of nourishment. It's going to kickstart and catapult the ultimate blessing that everybody will get to eventually experience. And so when you plant a seed, the roots grow downward before anything ever breaks the surface, before the bloom can even come up. So when you think that you have buried something that was important to you or that you knew stood out about you, maybe it was God just kind of letting you know those things needed to take root. And so everybody's harvest season or blossoming season takes root and it blossoms at different times. So this was a reminder too that, girl, get out of that comparison complex. Don't be stuck on that, because that won't keep you anywhere but in the ground, but nobody will ever be able to see the fruit of it. And so um I just wanted to encourage somebody that maybe you thought you buried something in you and you thought it was dead and gone, but God is reminding you that it is just simply being rooted. It needs to take root. It needs time to sit in that dark place sometimes to be able to learn the soil, the path it needs to take, the nourishment it needs to grab onto, what's going to help keep the root bound or the roots bound in the ground and healthy, so that they can anchor themselves appropriately before things start to manifest. And so maybe you thought the thing that you were dealing with or that you were facing that was of value to you was a death, because all this time has passed and you didn't see any manifestation of it. And so you thought that thing was dead and gone. But honestly, that was the beginning of a transformation. And it really had to be hidden for all of these seasons just so it can grow strong enough to rise. And I strongly believe that's where the Lord has me right now at this place in my life. He has uprooted me from what was familiar, and that's a whole nother video, but me moving to where I am now. I've never lived outside of my hometown, and this was a first for me. And so I moved in faith, and for him to have uprooted me to a very familiar but yet uncomfortable environment, one where my roots were getting tangled with thorns and things were so messy and they were so unhealthy. It was time for me to be planted into a new space. And so when God planted me where I am now, he has really taken me through some dark moments and has shown me his marvelous light. And so I feel like I'm at a point now to where my roots have, or my seeds have started to form root. And there's this just little bitty blossom, this little leaf that's starting to show its head above the soil to actually feel the sun, okay, and feel the nutrients and the blessing of the sun so that it can start to grow and develop. My God, I feel this thing right now. And so um, I want you to also know too that when you are going through something, a transformation, when you are allowing your circumstances to not have control over you and for you to take control over them alongside the Holy Ghost, know that this was really um, never about when you were ready for it. Okay, this is never about, because there's never a perfect time. Everybody wants to work to the wait for the perfect time. I can't even get that out. I think because I'm so excited. But there is no perfect time. And I am so guilty of this. I've been so guilty of it has to be perfect. It has to be polished. Again, back to the overthinking part of me. It had to be outlined in a certain way. It had to be aesthetically pleasing. And that was just a whole bunch of excuses. That was a whole bunch of delay that didn't gain me any favor. It didn't bless anybody. It really just kept me sounding like a fool, like repeating the same things. Girl, yeah, I'm going to start the business when I get XYZ. Yeah, girl, I need funding. Yeah, girl, that's the problem. Or people want to, when you finally do something and then you back off of it, it's like, well, what happened to, such and such that you was working on? Oh, girl, you got all these excuses. Um, but there were some things that, in the heart of hearts that God is giving you, but you were never ready. And it's not about being ready. It's about being willing to show up, um, in spite of. And so I took from the Lord today, before I said, okay, I got to record. I got to get this video out. It's going to be later in the day than I, anticipated, but it's going to come out on this Tuesday. And so, it wasn't about me being ready, but about me being willing. And so just knowing that I did not miss my moment, that I was truly being prepared for it. And so my moment isn't necessarily just a day. It's not necessarily just an hour. It is a time in which God has said, okay, this is your moment, for you to show up in this way. And so in that preparation, and also, as I'm thinking about those moments of delay, God wasn't punishing me by like not having certain people fund my idea in a certain way, or by Him making me have grown up in a certain environment, or any of that. He was positioning me. And, what I finally I decided to lean into, is that I saw everything as though, um, what I went through disqualified me, that it disqualified me from showing up. It actually, though, made me more relatable, because the more real, the more useful, the more I just showed up as Janisha, I was like not in who this persona. I was not in this persona of who I thought I should have been, in a way, if that makes sense. But more is like, I'm not who I was, that wandering person, that person that just felt like they didn't have the right things in place, the right things in order, the right environment, or whatever. But I'm not those decisions that I made, the mistakes that I made either. I thank God for that. I thank God that He has redeemed me, that He has made me in His image, that He has reminded me of who I am in Him. And even now, episode 4, I can see that I did not miss that. And so I just realized I needed to really just grow into it and not put any timeline on it, and know that God's divine timing is what is what really matters. Okay. And so I don't know. I'm just heavy right now with a lot of things that I want to say. But I will say too, on the same vein, that this subject that I'm talking about today, I feel like it needs to be multiple conversations. So I'm creating this little mini series on this very subject. So the next several episodes will have a total of 4 mini series where we'll talk about um, some of this, using of your voice and showing up in a way, but just putting different perspectives and sharing different examples with you. And so I just wanted to encourage somebody on today that if you were just breaking the surface, or you planted a seed, that seed didn't grow, it wasn't probably watered, and nourished properly, it wasn't in the right environment, it wasn't um, being loved on with the right heart posture, the right headspace. It didn't have the right people loving on it and speaking into it. Sometimes people talk to their plants to get them to grow, and so um, when you think about all those things, I just want to let you know that maybe your roots weren't strong enough, but they are now. But it's all up to your mind, it's up to your heart, it's up to your belief system, and how you begin to love on those things going forward. And so I wanted to remind you too that maybe what you thought you was buried isn't dead, it's just ready. And so you got to get ready for it too. Um and just let your light shine. Let the light shine, and just go and do that thing. So I just want to close by saying, sis, bro, if you're watching, it's not too late. You did not miss your opportunity. And maybe you weren't ready back then. Maybe there were some things that God needed you to go through to really armor you up and get you ready for this. But you are ready now. You're not perfect. You are not polished and aesthetically pleasing to a whole lot of people. And that's okay. Maybe that's not your tribe. Maybe those are not your people. but you are ready now and you are willing now to allow God to use you, or for you to even trust yourself to be able to show up and utilize your gifts in whichever way the Lord has led you. Okay. And so all God needs is a willing vessel. And so I want you to take any dream that you have that's still ruminating in your mind and in your heart. It keeps being reminded to you. Take that off the shelf, open up the pages. Well, dust it off first. Open up the pages, breathe on it again. Invite the Lord to breathe on it again, and just know that you got this. Okay. And so if there was something that you thought wasn't done in the right time and now you feel God nudging for you to revisit it, maybe you started a business that was doing very well and you felt that was your vein, and then life happened and then you said, I can't do this no more. Maybe God is wanting you um, to replant a new seed or water that seed that's still there, that's ruminating there. It's got some good roots anchored to it. You just need a little encouragement. Maybe that's what you need to go ahead and do. And so I just want you to just rest in this and think about this. And if this video spoke to you, I do want to hear about it. I do want to kind of know if there is something that what's something that you told yourself wasn't the right time, and now you feel like God is nudging you to do it, like he's wanting you to revisit that. What is that thing? What is that one thing? You ain't got to get all the details, but what is that one thing that he has called you to and that he's wanting to breathe life on that you need to revisit? Drop that in the comments here. I would love to hear from all of you, to love and encourage and support you. Everybody else, do the same. Share this video again, like I said, with someone that has maybe been sitting on something, that really trusts you and will listen to you. Go ahead and share this video. Maybe it can inspire someone. Again, that's all I have on today. I'm so full right now, but I will just save the rest of my conversation with y'all for the next mini series. Again, I post videos every Tuesday, and you already know what it is in this space when you come to my channel. So stay savvy, stay faithful, and keep trusting God. Until next time, I'll see y'all next Tuesday. Peace.